headed into Glacier National Park, probably just for the afternoon. We're going to try and rent some kayaks and do Lake McDonald, maybe the Trail of the Cedars too. Whatever else we can fit in. It is our first afternoon in Glacier National Park, and we're headed inside the park just after time entry has ended since we don't have a permit for today. We are going to have an action-packed week this week because we're going to try and fit in as many hikes as we possibly can. Tomorrow morning we're going to start off bright and early with a sunrise hike to Avalanche Lake. We're doing the Trail of the Cedars right now. It's pretty busy in the park because it's late afternoon and the 3 p.m. entrance time restriction was lifted, so a lot of people here. By the time we were done with our hike and got back to the camper, we were both so tired. We're gonna try and go to bed early so we can get up for sunrise, but I'm really hoping it still happens. We made it to Avalanche Lake. We began the hike before sunrise and we were one of the only couples out on the trail. The lake is supposed to be a beautiful turquoise color when the sun hits it, but unless we wanted to stay until 10 a.m., we weren't going to be able to see that effect. That didn't take away from the beauty though, because the water was still crystal clear and as blue as could be. This morning was particularly cold, so we walked around the lake and stayed until our fingers were ready to fall off before turning back. Ready to go back?
Yes.
This has been the Avalanche Lake Trail at sunrise. We are going to spend the late morning with Riley back at the campground and then re-enter the park for a trail ride this afternoon. Headed to Lake McDonald for horseback riding. It is currently 80 degrees out, so I'm hoping it'll be nice and warm out there, but it was super cold this morning, so we'll see how it goes. We significantly overestimated how long it was going to take us to re-enter the park. Our trail ride starts at 2:30, so we have a little bit over an hour to kill. We're going to explore the Lake McDonald Lodge area while we wait. We really lucked out with our group and our guide. We only had 2 other people with us, and that was the perfect size for a trail ride. The ride that we picked is the Upper McDonald Creek Trail Ride through Swan Mountain Outfitters. We wish we had the energy and more time to do the Sperry Chalet trail ride, which is an all-day ride up to the chalet, and that would have been beautiful. The trail ride that we did was through Swan Mountain Outfitters, and they're located right inside Glacier National Park. We did the Upper McDonald Creek trail ride, and that was the perfect amount of time, around 3 hours, and we covered a lot of ground. It's 8:45 and we overslept significantly. We were hoping to get up before the sun came up so we could get into the park and not have to deal with any parking issues, because we're going to Logan Pass today and that's going to be super busy, probably no parking. Our backup plan is to go to St. Mary Falls. I think there's 2 other waterfalls there, but it's a different parking area, probably still going to be busy, but I will keep you guys posted. We did not get a parking spot at Logan Pass Visitor Center, so now we're doing the St. Mary Falls, or Three Falls hike. It's about 6.5 miles. It'll probably take us about 2 hours. We started our hike at the Sun Point parking lot, making our first waterfall, Bering Falls. Right before we got to the falls, this lady had slipped and fallen on some rocks and needed to be carried out by some good Samaritans and park rangers. Bering Falls is not a good spot to need to be rescued out of, as it's not very accessible from any parking lot. She had to be carried to the Rising Sun boat dock from the falls and then take a boat over to the most accessible parking lot before she could be taken to the hospital. That's a really long journey when you're in a lot of pain. Hopefully the rest of the journey won't be so painful for her. As we continued on, we passed a group that told us about a moose hanging out in a bog right before St. Mary Falls. We watched the moose until he went back into the woods. St. Mary Falls was a great sight to see, but we were so ready to turn back by the time we got there. It was about 90 degrees with no breeze, and we were both so ready to be out of the sun. We're going to head back to the campground and hang out with Riley for the rest of the evening and hopefully get some shut-eye before we do our adventures all over again tomorrow.
At least we get the sun.
Mood apathetic.
We don't wear a hat.
Backwards, maybe. It is blowing out here. Wind.
Whose idea was this?
Today, instead of driving the Going to the Sun road, we opted to take the shuttle so we could hike without worrying about parking at Logan Pass. This was a bit of a mistake. We got in line for the express shuttle to Logan Pass at 6:45 in the morning, but the line was already very long. We ended up missing the last express shuttle due to the line, and we had to take the regular shuttle over to Avalanche Lake, transfer shuttles, and then head up to Logan Pass. This entire process took us twice as long as if we drove up ourselves. Note to self, get in line earlier. The hike of the day today is to Hidden Lake, and man was it windy. The weather here in Glacier National Park differs greatly from day to day, seeing as it was 90 degrees yesterday and sunny. I was hoping to hike a bit of the Highline Trail after Hidden Lake, but it was so windy that it wasn't enjoyable and we ended up turning around. Sit. We bought this cart for Riley in hopes that we could cart her around, but it turns out she's not ready for a wheelchair just yet. We spent the afternoon checking out the Hungry Horse area and doing some wandering. Today we're gonna head into Whitefish and we're gonna do some exploring, check out the town. We've already been there, but we liked it, so we're gonna go back. Just do a little bit of shopping. The weather's kind of iffy today. It's a little bit gray, kind of cold. But I'm excited to get some Starbucks. I miss it. But Ben seems to be doing okay without caffeine for the most part. I am struggling big time, but it is what it is. This afternoon we're going into Apgar Village to check out the stores, and I'm hoping to get some ice cream before our little lakeside picnic. The weather is not great today, but you gotta make the best out of it. We're doing dinner on the lake, on Lake McDonald. Brought the jet boil down and we're just gonna sit and have a little picnic. It's a little bit breezy out, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem. During the evening rainstorm, we headed over to Glacier Distilling, where the power went out shortly after we got there, making it a really interesting experience, but fun nonetheless. Today is our last day in Glacier, and we're both exhausted from all of this week's adventures, but we're so excited to rent a boat and hit the lake, and just hang out for a little bit and enjoy the scenery. We are so sad to be leaving Glacier National Park, but we are headed to Yellowstone, so we're excited to see what our next adventure holds. See you there!